Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on MKOCRadio.com. I had the pleasure of meeting this lady and seeing her perform and winning an award for the North American Country Music Association's International Hall of Fame this last March down in Pigeon Forge. And I absolutely think the world of her, and it's always a joy to be able to speak with her and see her, and I'm so glad to have her back on My Kind of Country tonight. This is Lacy J. Dalton. Lacy, how are you tonight?
Well, Scott, I'm just fine, and I wonder if folks know that you also went into the Hall of Fame that night, and I was very, very proud to share that night with you on the stage with all the folks that went into the Hall of Fame. We had such a great night.
Oh, it was so fabulous getting to see everybody and get to visit, and for me, seeing Freddie Hart and getting to sing his background vocals was really a highlight of my career, no doubt.
You know, I was amazed because Freddie's about 90 now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I saw him after that show. First of all, he had a wonderful performance, but after the show, we had a huge autograph line, and it went on for many hours, about 4 hours. When he was farther down toward the end of the line than I was, and I got finished, the line ended where I was, but there were still probably, maybe 60 or 70 people waiting for Freddie. Freddie sat there all that time. He never left. We were packing up our stuff, and I went over and I gave him a hug, and I said, "Boy, you are the pro of pros."
Yeah.
He sat there until, and by the time we got all of our T-shirts and stuff in the car and everything, I went back in, and Freddie was still there, still talking to his fans.
Yeah. We were right there with him, and I mean, we were exhausted.
Were you there? Did you stay with him, Scott?
Yeah, we helped him get all the CDs prepped and everything. We did the pictures for people that wanted pictures and everything, and I mean, we were just wrecked when it was done. He wanted to go get something to eat when we were done.
They don't make them like they used to.
No.
I tell you what, I couldn't believe he was there. And I don't remember seeing you there at that when I went over to hug it. Did you see me do that?
Yeah, I was there. Yep.
Well, I was probably so tired by that time, flying from the West Coast out there, and you lose hours and so on. And we just flew in, did the show, and flew back. So I was probably not as conscious as I could have been, but I was so proud of that dear man. That was a great song, Easy Lovin', that he wrote and sang.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Good.
Well, I was impressed with all the people that stayed, and all the artists that all stayed out there and did the autographs. I mean, to me, that's when you bond with your fans like that, they'll never forget that.
Well, that's really traditional in country music, and it's a nice tradition. When you talk to people after the show, and they'll tell you what they liked about it, or what happened to them because you sang this song, or what they didn't like, you really get to know who's listening and and how they feel, and it gives you feedback, and it also makes you feel good, because most of the time, sometimes a person will come up and say something that isn't very nice, but about 99.9% of the time, people are coming up there because they just want to know who you are, and they want to meet you, and they're very, very nice.
Yeah.
People are usually very. It's not the only thing that gets difficult is a lot of people will want to talk to you for much longer than you have when you have a line of 150 people trying to.
Yeah.
Or in the case of the Hall of Fame, there were maybe 500 people, but it's and sometimes that's hard to make sure that the person knows that you've acknowledged them and so on, but you do have a short amount of time with everybody. That's the hard thing about that, but the good thing about it is you really get to meet the people who put you where you are.
Absolutely, and you were very graceful. I got to watch a little bit of everybody, and it was really just heart touching to see everybody come up there and all the smiles, and it was a wonderful thing. And I have to tell you, you sounded absolutely fabulous, and I am so proud that you got that award, and I was so glad that I could be there to witness it. And you and Dale sound so wonderful together. He's just a great guy too.
Well, thanks so much. Dale and I do a lot of duo work now because it's very, very expensive to take a band on the road now.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of us who have been around a while will travel with a duo or a trio or a lot. Gary Morris travels a lot by himself, alone.
Mm-hmm.
Just with his guitar. Michael Martin Murphey sometimes does that. There are a lot of us who do that. Chris Christopherson even occasionally. I haven't seen that in a while, but I know he does go out by himself sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it saves money. It allows you to really focus on what songs you really want to sing to people, and really focus on your interaction with your audience. Because, you know, if you're up there by yourself or just with one other person, it's fun to interact with the audience. You can, and it actually can be a lot more intimate than if you have a lot of people in.
Oh, absolutely. You really get to hear the artist. You get to hear the essence, you know, and I mean, bands are wonderful without a doubt, but there's something about that more intimate performance, and you can just hear every note. And you know, there's not a lot of stars that can pull that off either. You know, there's a lot, especially nowadays, that I don't think they could pull that off.
Well, they may have to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know, as you grow older in your career, and the opportunities aren't. I mean, I remember working over 300 days. I mean, Willie Nelson and I were on the road like over 320 days a year for the first 3 years of my career. That was horrible. I mean, it's horrible to be on the road that much. You don't know where you are. I had to look, back in the old days, they'd have matchbooks in the ashtrays.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to look in the ashtray at the matchbook to know what town I was in. I mean, it was just some pretty hard charging back then. And but as you mature and as your career matures, a lot of times you're not as busy as you were, and there certainly aren't the venues. You know, when they started doing the DUI laws, a lot of you used to be able to play a place almost every night, and certainly every 3 or 4 days. But a lot of the drunk driving laws have cut down the number of honky-tonks that there actually are to go play in.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's fairs and festivals and that sort of thing, and small theaters. My favorite are small theaters.
Absolutely.
I really love to play small theaters because then you really are with the people, right with the people, and you can talk to them and, you know, touch them, and they can touch you, and I like that intimacy.
Oh, absolutely. You know, last time we talked, we kind of touched on, and I kind of want to expand on this. You mentioned Willie Nelson earlier. You did a wonderful duet with him, and I wanted to ask you, you mentioned this last time to bring this up, so I wanted to bring it up. You had a George Jones story to tell me, and you guys had recorded Size 7 Round together, and I'd like to hear your George Jones story.
Oh, well, you know, recording with George was so fun. First of all, I don't really sing harmony. I've never really been a harmony singer, and people who sing harmony, it's a real skill. It's an art. I mean, a lot of people can do it, but the people who do it for a living are amazing, you know. And there are people who are lead vocalists who also sing good harmony. My mother could sing harmony to anything. I don't. I really just, when I hear the melody, that's where I'm at. I've always been a lead singer, so I've never had much experience singing harmony, and I had to do it with George Jones. Well, when you sing harmony with George Jones, it's like you're on a roller coaster. Size 7 round and made of gold. I mean, there's a lot going on to try to follow, and it was fun. I honestly felt like I was on a roller coaster with him, and George was fun to be with. George took me. We did a big special down in near his home in Louisiana. And they had a big dinner, and everybody, there were probably 40 people at this dinner, and I was sitting next to George, and George goes, "Lacy," he said, "have you ever had the boudin sausage?" And I said, "No, George, I haven't." And he said, "Oh, you got to have some boudin. You know, you're down here in Kunas country. You have to have some boudin sausage." Well, boudin sausage is the most delicious thing you've ever tasted in your life. It's seafood with these incredible Cajun spices, and they put it in these casings, and it looks like just a regular sausage. Mm-hmm. But it came around, and he put one on my plate, and he said, "Now there, you have a bite of that." And I took my knife out, and it was a serrated knife and fork, and I tried to cut through the casing on this sausage, and the whole table erupted in laughter. Because it's not easy. I mean, I'm sure you can eventually cut a boudin sausage. But George goes, no, Lacy, that's not what you do. He said, here's what you do. And he picked that sausage up and held it above his mouth and squeezed the seafood out through the bottom of the sausage into his mouth. And he said, now that's how a coon-ass has his, because that's what they call themselves, the Cajun people. He says, now that's the coon-ass way of eating boudin, and it's the only way to eat it. But then the whole table had a good laugh at me trying that. This sausage was bouncing all over the place like it was alive. I couldn't get. It was so funny, but I had a lot of fun. George was always so kind to me. It was so good to me. Yeah, you know, he and his wife, and they were so good to my mom when my mother was on the road with me. They had a ball with her, we had the same producer, George and I, and Tammy. Billy, the great Billy Sherrill, was our producer, and they had introduced us, and I think that's why Tammy and George always felt like I was family or something. They were always. I remember when I first went to Nashville, and nobody knew who I was, and they'd go to take pictures of Tammy, and Tammy would always put her arm around me and say, "Take a picture of me and Lacy."
Oh, that's cool.
She would always try to include me and promote me. Those older stars that have been around a while in country music, they are very graceful and good people. A lot of them are really, really lovely, lovely people, and sometimes I think that I don't meet people so much anymore that have this sort of this. I don't even know how to put it into words, but there's a sort of a righteous integrity about a lot of people. The person who comes to Tammy Wynette was one of those people. Leroy Van Dyke, the auctioneer. What a fine gentleman he is. And he is really a gentleman. And he is there's a certain, if Leroy Van Dyke tells you something, or his wife Gladys, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be the truth. It's just going to happen. David Frizzell is that way, and Joe. Yeah. Very straight-ahead people. Very Absolutely. Honest, straight-ahead people. T.G. Shepherd's always been that way with me. Whatever he says, he's going to do. Johnny Lee, when they tell you that they're going to come and see you and they're going to be there and so on and so forth, they come and they see you. And it's nice to be around people who walk their talk and keep their word. And I don't know that they do it 100% of the time, but these people have always been 100% with me.
Absolutely. There was a camaraderie that I witnessed when we were at that Pigeon Forge show. And these people all were, like you said, they were all visiting together. You all had this common bond, and it was just like an old friends meeting.
Well, once you've been on the road for a long, long time, there is a camaraderie that happens, because a lot of people who never get to leave their hometowns or have very quiet lives, it'd be very hard for them to understand how much you've seen and how much you've experienced by being so constantly exposed to people from every walk of life, in every state of the union, across the ocean, everywhere. You become somewhat worldly, and yet you begin to treasure them. And I think the country people really do, and probably a lot of the rock people too. You really treasure your home time, and you really treasure people who understand your lifestyle.
Sure, absolutely.
And there's a certain knowingness that happens just from having had 50 years on the road. I mean, you just I'm sure truck drivers probably have it with each other.
Sure.
And perhaps and certainly soldiers have it. There's a camaraderie that happens from having done the same experiences on the road, which seems all glamorous and everything. It's very, very torturous and difficult. I took my son out one summer, Scott, when he was about 15 years old. And when I was done with the tour, and I said, now I'm not going to be your boss. I said, the crew boss will be your boss. You listen to him. You don't listen to me. I'm not going to stand in between you. You're going to be just like anybody else. We came back from the road. I said, Adam, because he made quite a bit of money. I said, well, what did you think? Because it was putting money away for college. And I said, do you want to do it again next year? And he went, oh, my God. He said, who do that again. He said, that is the most horrible lifestyle I can ever imagine. You get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you get on the bus, you go and you do a show, you're there till midnight, you drive half the night, and you get up at 5 or 6 the next morning, and you do the whole thing all over again. He said, I don't think so. I think I'll stay home. And he did. And he did, and he's very successful today. So it's not as people think it is. I mean, I'm sure it must be if you are a superstar and you have luxury hotels and you stay in, you have a gorgeous bus to travel in all the time like that. But a lot of us don't reach that level for one reason or another, and so we don't really experience that. We have all of people think we do, but a lot of us don't. And so it can be it's a demanding life. It's a demanding lifestyle, and you really appreciate your home time.
Oh, absolutely. I think the reward, though, is being on stage and being with the fans and, that interaction that you get. I just think there's no greater thing than that connection that's made out there when that show is going on.
You're absolutely right. There's and when it's a deep connection, it's a pretty spiritual feeling. It feels pretty amazing. It's, you have to be very aware never to take that special connection for granted. It happens almost every time in the show, but if you get sloppy or you're not rehearsed enough, it can, if you don't respect it, that connection isn't as strong.
Yeah.
And boy, can you ever feel that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. So you cannot take it for granted. It's a very special relationship and a very special time when you're on that stage.
Absolutely. Well, it makes it all worthwhile. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it, right?
Oh well, you could if you didn't love it. You sure wouldn't.
That's for sure.
I'll tell you that.
That's for sure. Well, you're doing a show in Shipshewana, Indiana, on the 28th of October with the Country Gold Tour and all these wonderful people we just talked about: Leroy Van Dyke, Bobby Bayer, David Frizzell, and.
They're some of my favorite people to travel with.
Yeah, that's
These
a great
are old
show.
hands. They know how to do the show.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be wonderful. Bobby Bear is the first guy I ever toured with, and let me tell you how he is. Bobby Bear is the neatest guy in the whole world. And I remember when I was touring with him, we were touring in this awful old motorhome, and it was just like rattling apart. And we'd get to a place where I would be opening for Bobby Bear. And they would have a spread for Bobby within a green room, within whatever venue we were playing. And so many times, I remember Bobby coming up to me and saying, "Lacy, honey, you and your boys go in there and you help yourself with anything that's in that green room, because after all, we have the bus. We got everything we need on the bus." Well, I didn't know until years later when I had a bus that you don't have everything. Well, you can, but you appreciate those green rooms. So a lot of times you don't have time to shop. You don't have time to stop and pick up, anything very nourishing. And those green rooms are very nice. It's nice to get out of that bus and go into that green room. But Bobby always did that for me.
That's
as
cool.
a young artist. He always did it. That's the kind of thing that you never forget. You never forget people being kind to you that way when you first get in the business. I didn't know a soul in the business when I got into it. I didn't have any family or anybody that was actually in the business at all. I didn't know a promoter from a producer. And to be truthful, it was quite a learning experience for me.
Oh, that's really something else. Well, LacyJDalton.org is the place to go. You can get information for her tour dates, including that wonderful show, the Country Gold Show. And, of course, you can pick up Lacy's music there. Visit her on Facebook. She's very active on there and has a great page. And, of course, the Let 'em Run organization, Let'emRun.org, rescuing wild horses and getting them into good homes. We so support that, and I think that's such a wonderful program.
Scott, I'm so proud of us. Just for this year with our outreach people, we've managed not only to rescue and make sure that the horses have medical care and they're in good shape. We've also managed to place about 1,000 of them.
Wow.
In
That's
homes.
Great.
And I'm so not just Let 'em Run, but chilipepper.org and least resistance training and wild horses in need, and a lot of it. We have a network that does this. Of course, it's a drop in the bucket to the tremendous need, but we are so pleased. It's one thing to rescue them. It's another thing to find homes, to rehome them.
Yeah.
That's the really challenging part of it. And I'm especially helped by a group called chilipepper.org, and it's spelled chillypepper.org. They are our boots-on-the-ground people. My group raises a lot of funds for them, and we help them to do the projects, get trucks and trailers and stuff they need. And they are, without a doubt, I think they and Wild Horses in Need, some of the most powerful and positive advocates for wild horses I've ever worked with. I'm proud to be working with them.
Well, bless all of you for what you do. I think that's such a wonderful thing. And Lacy, you've got a country cruise coming up next February. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, Scott, that is, you can find out all about it on the webpage. There's so many artists on that tour, on that boat, and we are going to have a blast. Alabama's on there. I think Bobby Bear is on there. I want to say Jeannie Seeley's on there. Everybody you know is on that cruise. And it's going to be a great, and a lot of my friends are coming. My sister's going to come, and I think Dee, my road manager, is coming, and Leslie, my assistant, is coming, and we have a lot of people, a lot of our own folks are going to be on that cruise. I don't know that we'll be going to the destinations that they have advertised that we're going to because of the terrible weather down there and the hurricanes.
Yeah.
St. Martin's got kind of smashed to pieces, and some of the places that we were headed on that tour. So keep updated if you want to go on the tour. Just go to my website, and it will tell you how to hop on the tour with us with a lot of just great choice seals, and just a lot of good T. Graham Brown, people you haven't heard from in a while that are so good.
Oh, yeah.
Are going to be on that tour or on that cruise. Are you coming, Scott? And we expect to see you.
Boy, we'd love to. I'll tell you that.
I know you can't get away for that long, but it would sure be.
I know, it would be great.
Love.
It would be great. We just got to see T. Graham Brown a couple weeks ago, and there's another him and his wife Sheila. There's another people that are just like you said. They're real. They're good people. It was just a pleasure to be with them.
Oh, he's such a great artist.
He was my very first interview when I first started my show, and he's been on my show 5 times. And he called me when I got my own station going, and he's like, "I need to be on your show." He said, "I need to do some liners for you. What do you need from me?" And it was so cool.
Talk about on top of his game there.
Oh man, and he sounded so great.
Singer.
Oh,
what
he sounded
voice.
great. Man, he was good, and he's got a fabulous band, and we just had such a great time with him. They're dear people. I love him to death. Absolutely.
I haven't seen him in years, but I really am a fan.
Oh man, he is just a powerhouse. Just absolutely love him. And Lacy, you told me before we got on the interview that you're working on a Christmas album.
We are. I wrote a song with my friends. I have this terrible dog, Carl. We rescued Carl, and Carl is huge. Carl is half pit bull and half something big like a mastiff. He drools a little. So anyway, we rescued this dog, and we have this song called Carl the Christmas Dog, and we're getting ready to record that song and a video about Carl. Carl may he may actually be a star. I may have to, have a special kennel and special, limos designed for Carl the dog, because Carl is, well, let us just say, Carl has charisma. And when we get this Carl the Christmas Dog song recorded and the video, we're going to put it out on YouTube, but we will make sure you get a copy of Carl the Christmas Dog.
Oh, that's great.
And then I've written about 5 Christmas songs. I try to write one every year, and then we'll probably do 2 or 3, traditional Christmas things. and we're going to get that out. We hope to have that out by the end of November.
Well, good. Well, I hope I'd love to have you
We haven't
back on
done
the
it
show.
before. Everybody's saying, why don't you do a Christmas? You write all these Christmas songs. Why don't you put them on a record? We like them. So we're going to try to get that done this year. I'll tell you what, with working at Dale and I work 2 days a week at a level 4 prison up in Susanville, California. He teaches guitar and I teach songwriting, and in a program called Arts and Corrections that really changes lives and is a powerful thing we get to do. And we get to do that from September to June. And this year we're not starting until October, but it is an amazing thing. But and then I have a radio show on Wednesdays called Mustang Matters, which is about wild horses. And so we're busy.
Boy, I guess so.
I've got time off now because I had a little surgery, but I'm getting back to work, and it's really one of the first interviews I've done, and I'm thrilled that you called, and I'm thrilled to talk to you this morning, and I'm thrilled to be hanging out with another Hall of Fame member, and certainly somebody who won his award the same year that I won mine. I don't know how many of those awards you've won, but I know you won one for the station the year that I was inducted, which was this year.
That was my first one, and it was an honor.
Is that your first too?
That was the first. Yeah, it was an honor. I have no words for it. It was such a magical time, and having my wife and my daughter there to share it with me was just, you couldn't ask for anything better. And we had so much fun. And you had a lot of family there too. You guys were a blast, man.
Oh, I had people all over the place for that. People came. I don't know what. It was a long way for a lot of people. I had all but my friends come from Texas, and half of them had the flu, which was terrible. They got the flu on the way to the show, so I thought one of my friends was going to actually perish while he was there. And I had Dale and I had some mess that we got, and we were still struggling with whatever that was when we were there. But we had a great time anyway. I got to see my old friend Ira Parker, and of course all of my friends on the show. Paulette Carlson and Gary Morris and David Frizzell and Joe were there, and just everybody.
Sylvia,
it was Sylvia. I hadn't seen Sylvia in such a long time, and what a sweetheart she is.
Oh, she was
what
great.
A good singer. And she's still beautiful.
She is absolutely beautiful. It was so cool to meet her, and it was really neat because we were back in the green room there, and I was talking to somebody, and she turned around and she looked at me and she said, "I know you because I recognize your voice."
Whoa.
I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's a compliment. That's a really nice thing to say.
And Paulette Carlson, my goodness, boy, she just absolutely owned that stage. She was out there twirling around in her skirt, and just, I mean, she
lovely?
Oh,
I just love Paulette.
She was.
We're
neat.
talking about doing some touring together because we're both out here in the West.
Yeah.
And we are far away from where most of the work is in the East, and we both prefer to stay in the West. We really like it out here, and there is not as much work out here, but when we team up, it's so fun. It's really fun. I love working with Paulette.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've done some great shows out in California. I know Brad Peterson saw you out there just recently, and it was nice to have him there, too. They flew in from California.
Brad, I was surprised that Brad had come all the way from California.
I was honored. Excuse me. He and I have gotten to be really good friends, and of course he does our Sunday Country Classics show, and he's a very talented musician in his own right, and he's recorded some stuff that he's sent to me, and he's very humble about it, and he won't brag about it, and he's probably going to be going, "Scott, why did you mention this on the interview?" But he's
really
good.
When you talk to him, tell him I said hello, and I hope I see him. I'm doing some big California shows this year, so I'm hoping maybe I'll catch up with Brad out on this end of the world. But if you see him, and you will before I do, and you remember to tell him, I would love you just give him a hug.
Well, I will do that, and he'll hear this too, so that's wonderful. And Sarah and Merritt wanted me to send their love too. They had such a great time.
Oh my gosh, they are so lovely, and please just tell them it was lovely to meet them, and they're just beautiful people, and I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys again.
Absolutely. Well, Lacy, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me again. It's just a delight to sit here and visit with you. This was really just a conversation, and I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Scott. I always like talking with you, and congratulations on your station.
Well, thank you and congratulations on your well-deserved award. LacyJDalton.org is the place to go, and be sure to give her a like on Facebook and LetThemRun.org. Please go there and help support the wonderful cause to rescue these wild horses. And October 28th, Shipshewana, Indiana, the Country Gold Tour. Make sure you go see that fabulous show. And Lacy, I'm going to play size 7 round with you and George Jones right now.
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot, Scott. Be well.
Be well. God bless you. Lacy J. Dalton on My Kind of Country as we continue.